Today we'll be discussing component and variant, and I won't be staying too much on component because we have been using components since the beginning of this course. We have designed some major things as components. We have designed our tab bar in the main menu of application, and we designed some icons to be able to change them from different state to another state. So, which means I only talk about components then. So I want to explain deeply what we mean by variant, and I must also explain component. Probably if you are watching this for the first time. So component is the ability of creating reusable design elements. Majority of things like card, button, text field, and so on. Instead of you designing it in different places, different times, so we design it once and we're able to use it across every device and everything we want to use it. And what is variant? So variant is the ability of creating components in different versions, having different version of a particular component, and we are going to do that now so that we can understand properly. So let me quickly, for those watching, probably you are watching for the first time, let me copy this out. So I've created this as a component. So in creating a component, whatever thing you have designed, just go to the layers panel and see the component icon and you pick it there. And this is a component of this particular card. So I will make an instance of this. Let me put it inside a particular frame. So one, and I'll duplicate it a few more times. Okay. So the reason why we use component in majority of things is that for easy adjustment, for easy editing. If there is a change, maybe probably the owner or the client says, okay, this thing we're having as red, we want to change it to blue, we want to change the position, probably want to take it to the other side. As you can see, everything responds to that change instantly and immediately as well. If you want to change the color of anything, we want to delete anything, everything will change instantly. Everything will change instantly. So far we design it with a component. And inside component, let me quickly explain this. Whatever you change in an instance, if you change anything or delete anything in an instance, it will not delete. So deleting something in an instance is not possible. You see, it seems like it has been deleted, but if you come back to the layers panel, it is still there. And if you change anything in an instance, you can't change everything you have in an instant. So we call it override. If I change this and I come back to this master component to do, we probably want to change that. So the instance that I've already changed will not respond to that again. So you don't follow that flow anymore. So let me quickly read from this test. So there are things we can modify and things that we cannot modify. So we can modify the text, we can modify color, we can change image, and we can do some kind of resizing. But if you want to change the constraint of an instance, it is not possible. If you want to modify the auto layout, it is not possible. If you want to delete something in an instance, that one also is not possible. And today, moving on to variant, I'll be using a button to explain. So we have two-dimensional variant and we have one-dimensional variant. So let me quickly do a button with auto layout. So I'll add auto layout to it. Okay. I will turn it into a component, and we know that a variant is different dimension of a component. And whenever I want to add variant to anything, we come down to this properties panel. That particular place we add it or turn it to a component. Whenever something is a component, we will seeing the icon of add variant. We add variant. Then it will start to be grouping everything together. So this will start to be grouping everything together. So we're going to be having different versions of this button. So this is the first state. We see this as default, as the default state, the first one we create, and then the second will be changing that to over because we want to have 4 states of that particular thing. You can do it from here, or do it from the layers panel. You can come here to change this property to state, and that's default. The second one we also be having state, and that will be over. And we still add another variant to this particular button. We are doing 4 states. You can see 2 variants. Add another one, and let me add one more. Let me add one more state, making 4 states. So we have the first one. This is over. We have this as pressed. State 3 to be pressed. And we have the last one to be disabled. Okay, now this is a one-dimensional variant. If I take this button, let me quickly do some adjustments in that button. So the second one, let me make it a little bit darker than that. Let me just add a fill, add it to 40. That will be over. And this, whenever it's pressed, let me add white fill to it. So we know that this has been pressed. Let's move that to 40. Make that 50. very white, and this disabled, I'll change it to, let me pick gray, and taking just one of these, we can change to any of that button. Let me put it inside a frame. Okay, so changing this is an instance of that component. We can change it to any of that 4 buttons. This is over, this is pressed, and this is disabled. Okay, now let's go back to visible state. This is a one-dimensional variant, and now let's do a two-dimensional variant. Remember, probably this icon in the PPA mobile application we designed, we had an icon to the sign in, sign up button. There are icons at the back, icons at the front of all those buttons. So instead of me designing another component in another 4 states, having the icon here so that we can be changing. So with this particular icon, we can still have that possible as well. So selecting everything, selecting every icon, all of these buttons, then we duplicate. So arranging this side by side. Okay, with this now, I want to add an icon to this button. Let me pick the icon and add it inside one of the buttons. Okay, now if you notice that this button is now greater than the second button, and this is not what we want. Let me pick the button and do the adjustment again. So we adjust here because this button is inside auto layout. We're having org content with both width and height. So we change the height to fixed container. So then we pick the button again. Let's pick the icon again and add it back into the button. So it only grows horizontally, it only grows in width but not in height. Okay, fine, this is what we want. So everything should be in fixed width. Change it from org content to fixed width. Then we paste our buttons inside again. Then we use the arrow key on the keyboard to change it to left. Now with this, now we're having 8 different buttons, and we are still going to be using that particular one button, the instance that we're using before, to change to all of this. So we select the whole component, then we come to this properties panel to add a variant. This is not making this button to be 16, but still adding variants inside of it. This is component properties, and we have this name. We name it with icon to be able to know the one that have icon with icon. Then instead of having it as the button, we have it as true. So automatically, when we have something to be true in Figma, the system already knows that the true and false will create a boolean property. Now, if you notice here, we're having 2 properties here. We have the first property as the state, and the second one as the state of buttons with icon. Now we'll select everything. Now is in true. We have to set some of these buttons to be false. Then we hold shift and select all of these first buttons we have created. Then we change the with icon, that these are not going to be with icon. Change this from true to false, this to be false. Then we select and give these things the same name so that Figma can understand that the first one with the default state, one will be with icon and the other one will not be with icon. The other one will be in the first state. So this one will be default. So these two will be over. These two will be pressed. And these two will be disabled. Okay, having this selected, so all of this now with that particular variant we have here before, we are going to be able to change from one to another. Let me increase this because of the other state. So having this, so from this particular button alone, we can change to 8 all of these buttons. And the reason why we're having this toggle button is because we use true and false to select instead of us designing it probably in 18 times. So this toggle button helps us to do this. Okay, then we have it as the board state. You can change from the board to over, and we can test everything whether the toggle is working properly. Okay, and we have the press state to do this. Okay, fine, everything is working properly. So this is what we call variant. We have designed a one-dimensional variant, probably having this, just having everything in different states. And two-dimensional variant, we had icon, we can add 2 or 3 icons. It is not necessarily one icon. So far as in auto layout, we can do everything that way. So this is what I just want to explain concerning variant before we move to the web-based application we want to design. And let's make this thing into live to see the live usefulness of this by using inside prototype, add a little interaction. So anybody that doesn't remember, we talked about prototype. I've explained that earlier in the lecture we did. That was last week. So this add an interaction. So this one is oven, we choose by oven. So the second one is pressed. We connect this whenever we press this. So I'll just use this as little interaction for us to see, so that we can have understanding of what we are still going to do in this last section of this training. So we're having this. I will not connect the rest. So just use this to show us an example of what I'm talking about. Toggle it off. Okay, with this now, we know we have set it to oven state and debug. So this is the debug state. This is what we have. Immediately you pick your mouse to move around, you can see that we're having a change in color. And whenever you press, we have the white state, the one we have the white field on top. So this is the debug state, as you can see here. The oven state, when you hover around the button and when you press it, we have another light blue color. So this is somehow another place that it is useful, but we are going to be building on that this week to design the Neko mobile application. Let me even show us that. So we'll be designing this home screen, this first one this week. So we design these and have all of these designed. So there is lots to do, but as long as and as far as we can cover, so we'll cover the one we can cover, so we have the basic understanding and knowledge of what we are talking about. Okay,